Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. It's a wonderful, beautiful Monday here in San Francisco, and likewise in Atlanta, I think, right, Tim?
We got rain and ugly skies, but it's any day that the sun comes up is beautiful.
So today is another episode. It's actually the second episode of the LMTV Homeland Security or Homeland Alerts, and this is a format that we really enjoy doing, and we've done it in various ways. And so we're going to continue, and Tim is gonna, and I have some slides that Tim prepare, and so Tim, why don't you give us an overview of what you want to do today?
Well, today I'm going to talk about the state of breaches in the USA today. We've already started out almost doubling the number that we had the last year in 2014, and we're seeing some very big breaches right up front. We thought Target was bad. Now we're talking about an insurance company, and that could affect. It could cost billions to remediate it, but it's so sad that we have to now tell everybody what to do if you think your information has been stolen in a breach. Uh, and there's personal identification information, there's personal health information, and then there's credit information, and all of these are being stolen in this recent one. But I want to kind of go through the different methods.
What I don't understand, Tim, is that if this were bandits running around in my neighborhood, shooting guns and threatening people's liberty, it's not my responsibility to protect myself. I mean, of course, I want to protect myself. It is my personal responsibility to protect my family. But at the same time, don't we have a government who's paid to do this? Don't we all pay tax to a government to protect us? Where's the government in this?
Well, unfortunately, the government tries to take care of the government. The problem is these companies, the independent companies, are the ones that are getting hit, and we don't have a unified communication system where we can, like, I'll give you an example. Japan. Now, in Japan, there's very little internet privacy, if any at all, but they have probes out all through the internet, a lot smaller territory, that can actually monitor and see attacks going across the fabric of the internet. Now, last year they had 250, they reported 250 billion different types of malware attacks. Not all of them were successful, thank God. But, and by the way, so far the National Institute for Computer Technology in Japan has not told us how many were successful yet. But think about that for a second. Japan's about the size of Northeast United States, very small part of northeastern United States, and they had 250 billion. That's with a B. Different types of malware attacks, phishing, farming, you name it, all the different types of attacks. Um, so you can imagine a nation our side, and I think what the government, through its standards, have asked companies, have demanded that companies protect the information that we provide them every day. For when we're doing something simple like buying a pizza, we put our credit card information out there, and our anticipation is that the company we gave it to will keep it safe. And companies today, in a lot of cases, they prefer to wait till something happens before they do anything about it. Uh, I recently wrote a little article that I'm going to be publishing, but it says basically, look, when someone goes to a CISO or the board and says, hey, I need $1 million to make our network secure, most of the time the comment is, oh man, that comes right out of our profit. But the question I ask is, how much more are you going to take out of your profit when you're breached and you lose your customers? People are PO'd at you. You got litigation. You got fines from the FTC, fines from the PCI DSS community, fines from the HIPAA community, Sarbanes-Oxley. It goes on and on. So people have got to start looking at investing more in security, and visibility. before they start worrying about how much it's going to cost. Ask the question, how much is it going to cost you when you do get breached and your company goes out of business because of fines and liabilities? We just had some recent cases where the federal court told Target that they could be sued. Target wanted to restrain all private litigation or joint litigation, and the court said no, you can't be sued. So, and I'm not a lawyer, so that's just the latest I've heard on it. But it
Yeah,
is sad.
I think that you and I both, we're technologists, but at the same time we're citizens. So as a technologist, we see this as the reality, and so we're doing our very best as a technologist, as a publisher of technical information, to educate, to champion our sponsors, our customers, our members of a community, and try to get them on board in terms of how, or give them more tools in terms of how to protect the company, protect them. But at the same time, we're citizens. Where is the outrage?
Well, I don't
Right?
understand. There's a lot of stuff
This is
going on.
not. We're not talking. I mean, I remember just a few years back, we used to laugh this off. We said, well, just a bunch of kids, high school kids with pimples and notepads, and they could just go around having fun. That's not the case anymore. These are either organized crime, or they might even. I mean, in fact, it's often reported that there are countries.
State, yes.
States. There are states that we're I guess the word is frenemies, right? We're supposedly friends, quote unquote, but in reality is that we are adversaries, and we're being attacked. Where's the outrage?
I don't know. I know that the president has come up with net neutrality, and he wants to force that issue and allow one of the most clumsy organizations, the FCC, to take over control of the internet. They didn't do that great of a job taking over the airways, but they're saying that net neutrality will help with this, and that's not true. As a matter of fact, it'll exacerbate it because you'll have a lot less people to really hack. It's like SDN to me. You take a company that's got all kinds of components and they're working on it, then all of a sudden you go to SDN, put a controller in. Now the hackers only have one target, that controller. And yeah, so Denny, it is frustrating, and it's very upsetting. The government's doing a great job of taking our reports of breaches, loss of our credit card, social security numbers, everything. But at some point, the government's got to step in and fix it, because if not, companies are going out of business. We don't have an over amount of jobs waiting for people right now, and it could be an economic killer. And trust me, they've attacked everybody. Even Lloyd's of London was attacked last month.
Well, you don't even have to attack us in blowing up buildings. You could attack by just creating confusion, and it's not difficult to create confusion.
That's what terrorism. That's what terrorism
yeah,
is.
That's what does it. But in any case, this is why we're here, Tim.
That's right.
This is our microphone, and we're going to devote half an hour every other week, every third week, whatever it takes. And you look a lot more like the Dutch boy than I do, but we're basically two Dutch boys, got our fingers holding up the dike, and we're here. We're here. I of course have another kind of role in that I believe that our biggest adversary as a country, America, our biggest adversaries in the next 5-10 years is going to be China.
I concur totally.
Yeah. And so that brings a lot of mixed emotion. But I don't have I write about the Chinese government. I am not critical of the people. I am one of them. I'm a 200% citizen. I'm 100% Chinese, 100% American. I just have problem with the regime. That's all.
Well, I think that's always been the problem. We're represented, as a friend of mine said, we're represented by someone who got elected but is typically can't put his own shoes on, and his or her own shoe on. So it's pretty sad that our country, one of the most technological countries in the world, we can build a rocket we can fire from California, hunt down one person 5,000 miles away, but we don't do a very good job. And by the way, we don't even know, because they're never ever reported publicly, how many attacks we have against our government. At one point, 2 years ago, there was as many as 80,000 attacks on the DoD or one of its agencies in a month. And so you can imagine 3 years ago that many. You can imagine what it is today. So it's scary because
I feel like this is like the UFOs. I feel like, you know, we're like the conspirators, right?
right.
And I'm just saying, anyway, you got a lot of good stuff prepared for us. Why don't we go through that, and then we can come back and talk more about the kind of the political aspect of it.
You got it. Hit the first slide then, my friend.
Yes, sir. Just 1 second. Okay, there we go.
Well, so far, 2015, we're only a month and a half really into 2015. We had a healthcare breach that could cost that part of the health industry
We're not even 2 months into 2015, right? And one of the months is a short month, so.
Right. Yeah.
This is amazing.
Yeah. And as of the 15th, these reports are all as of the 15th. You know, this one health industry business we're going to talk about, Anthem, it could cost $5.6 billion this year. And the Anthem breach alone could cost billions. We don't know.
And by the way, with Obamacare, you know, if you hit the insurance company, you hit everybody.
Absolutely, because they have all the information.
We have, as a citizen, we have the right not to have a Social Security number, but not so when it comes to insurance.
Yes, you are. That's right. That's right.
You can refuse a Social Security number,
yeah,
but you can't refuse insurance coverage.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
So
go ahead.
Back to the thing. Now we talk about PII and PHI. PII is personal identifying information, and PHI is personal health information. These are traditionally the most protected, piece of information, because with both of them you can pretty much own a chunk.
I'm sorry, what's PHI again?
Personal health information.
Mm-hmm.
So if you have someone's PII and PHI, you can become them. You can literally defraud it to the 100th degree.
The person might as well not exist. It doesn't matter anymore.
Now there's 2 of you or 3 of you or 4 of you.
Yeah, it doesn't matter anymore. No. The real one doesn't need to exist anymore.
No, it can really just smash your life.
Yeah.
And I've seen it happen to people. I mean, I've seen some very nice people have their life totally messed up. I mean, over this. It's just bad. But nonetheless, now also in this PII and PHI, we have what I call the credit information. That's where they have your credit card information. They have your bank account. They have all of the pieces they need to start defrauding you. And the problem is, like in this recent Anthem breach, Anthem Insurance breach, they had everything. They had your personal identifying information, your health information, and most people pay for their health insurance through a credit card. So in the case of that breach, they had they had all of your information. Now, and it could go on for years. We don't know how long it's going to take to mitigate this attack.
Tim, I get excited. I always get excited, but this case I get really excited, because think about it. In this country, we have freedom of thought and freedom of speech, right? You're free. People give up their life to fight for freedom, including one where we could be critical of our own country and burn our own flag, right? We got all that. But what if someone decide that you no longer have that right? Well, they can literally assassinate you by having those information. I mean, it's the equivalent of just getting rid of you. You no longer exist. Your family no longer exists.
Correct. We've seen movies like that, Denny, and people think, "Oh, that's cool," but it's not true. Well, trust me. More than one person I've known in my life that just disappeared and never been heard of again. So it can happen either physically or, as you're pointing out,
or you exist, but your life is so miserable.
Yeah. Oh, I have a friend that got his information stolen. The company refused to report it. by the time he found out, he had already had his bank account cleaned out. His credit was ruined. He had thousands and thousands of dollars credit charged on his credit card. His home mortgage had been attacked, and he lost all of his personal ability to borrow money. He was broke, and it took him almost 4 years to get back to where he could live, but he's still suffering from that one loss of information. And that's why I'm happy that individuals now have the right to sue.
Yeah.
Because we have a right. If I give you my credit information to do business, you dang sure better protect my information.
Right. Hey, by the way, for those of us who are watching live, if you move your mouse to the left edge of the screen, a bunch of icons pop up. One of that is called Q&A, and so we actually have the Q&A panel opens up. So you feel free to make comments or ask questions. Okay. Go ahead, Tim.
Well, we think this year the potential. This is several agencies like Asperian and these different companies have got together. And they say that last year they estimate the loss to business, to U.S. business, was $50 billion. That's scary when you talk about $50 billion and maybe another $10 billion here and a few billion there. That could really help us pay our debt off if we kind of got all together and protected everything and stopped some of this. We need more credit monitoring. People are going to buy a lot more cyber insurance, which the insurance companies are now saying if the losses keep up, that they're going to go out of that business. They're not going to do it, because if you insure against hurricanes and natural disasters and earthquakes and that, they don't always happen all at once. With these breaches, you're having massive attacks and massive claims going on all at once, all over the world. The insurance companies are talking about, even Lloyd's of London said they may not go further if things keep the way they're going. We're going to have more business liability costs now that individuals can sue businesses and groups can sue for liability after losing that. And you don't have to, in the courts, they can award you a win, but what you want to do is figure out a way to be protected for more than a couple of years. And a lot of companies are buying monitoring services for your credit, and that costs money, especially when you have 100,000 people. That's pretty expensive. That's not including the fines and liabilities. And we're going to have more regulatory agencies, and we're going to have more fines, and there's going to be many more states. Right now, I think 47 of the 50 states and 3 territories, 47 of them have laws that say if you have a breach, any kind of breach, not a regulated breach, a regulated industry, but a breach, you have to let them know pretty quickly too, by the way, to mitigate any more fines in that. Okay, Danny, do number 2 if you don't mind.
Sure, hang on just 1 minute.
No problem.
There you go. To the small prints, but anyway, we also, if you go to the Love My Tool post that corresponds to this YouTube video, there's actually a report. There's a particular attachment report from the RRC. So I believe this is where it came from, right, Tim?
Yeah, this is from the TRC Report. Great company. They have an ID theft center, and they put up a report like this, which is many pages long, and we're going to look at a little bit of it. But I put up the summary page, which says that Banking and Credit Financial Group, that there were 12 breaches, okay, and the number of records they know that were stolen were 350,000. But if you later on, when you look at the detail, you'll notice that most of them don't tell how many records.
And this is just the first 50 days.
Yeah.
Of 2015, yeah.
Yeah, we have direct businesses. We've had 52 with a record loss of 11,000. I think that's BS. If you go look at the detail on this, you're going to find that 90% of those reporting didn't report how many records were stolen. Educational had 10 major breaches. I think you're going to find that's going to be, in a few months, going to be more, because they've attacked several universities and got all the information of all the kids going there. Government and military, again, 4 quote breaches, but that we don't really know because our government doesn't share that with us and tell us how many successful breaches. You have to go out and do a lot of research to find out which ones are reported, and I guarantee there's more than 2 or 4. Medical and health insurance, 23 breaches and 80,000. Now let me tell you the reason on that 80,000 is that that's what Anthem initially came up and said, that it was 80,000 records lost plus or minus. Well, you know, with 22 other companies being breached, it was a lot more than 200,000. Okay, so we're talking about millions of billions of dollars in just basic fines, but not to mention the fines. When you get down to it, they don't matter. It's all the people that are going to be hurt because of this. So next one's Denny, and I'll talk about it for a minute and I'll move on.
Yeah, well, 80 million records. I just quickly did a calculation. If you take a country's population and you subtract the people who are currently on retirement, because they don't need to buy separate insurance, so or maybe they do. Maybe they also buy supplemental. But in any case, if you take away the retirement populations, 80 million is 1 hour every 3 living.
That's right.
American.
And that's just recent. That's just this year. Can you imagine how many were stolen last year? And what I did here is I wanted to show you that how kind of an unscrupulous reporting is not the TRC's fault. It's that the companies aren't reporting it. So out of all of these financial breaches that I have listed here, the only thing that reported anything was Morgan Stanley, and they said 350,000 records were stolen. They don't tell you if they're PII or they're PHI or they're just credit information. Okay, and we're going to get to that at the end here, because you should be thinking all the time, could my information have been leaked? And if so, what do I do? Okay, so you look at all these. We've got Citibank, we got some pretty big banks here, and yet we don't know. Okay.
Well, the problem is that as a consumer, we hurt twice, because we're hurt first time when our personal information is stolen.
Right.
We're hurt the second time because no one wants to report it.
Well, yeah, and
right?
You hurt a third time
it's not to these. I mean, they do the absolute minimum. They do, because if they don't do, they go to jail. They don't want to go to jail, so they do the absolute minimum. But they didn't do it to protect us.
No. And the third way we lose, Denny, is that when companies like banks lose money, we wind up paying that back through interest charges or credit charges or something they come up with. And so ultimately, you and I and every citizen out there pay for this. Okay? And that goes back to your comment, why isn't our government stepping in? I think it should be very, very active in it. And net neutrality is not going to help anything except make a bunch of companies rich, and more penalties, more fines for us, more taxes. It's just a con job to go to that. So next slide, Denny.
Sure. I think I did.
Did it pop up yet?
Yeah.
Did it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
No.
The TurboTax.
No.
You want the one after that?
No, it should be banking, credit, and financial.
Okay. Whoops.
Well, that's all right. Go to that. Well, okay.
Oh, here. Sorry,
Yeah.
I skipped 2.
Okay, don't worry about it. So this is, again, just a show and tell of banking, credit, and financial. The other one was just businesses. Now here again, we're focusing just on the financial market. And it goes on and on and on. These are the ones that are reported. Can you imagine? We had a situation where a group of hackers broke in to a bunch of banks around the world using just a simple phishing, where they sent emails to employees. The employees opened them because, here's my request for a loan. The minute you open that document, it loads malware that they can use to withdraw money from the bank. And the banking world is not talking about it. We know it happened. We've got reports that it happened, but the banking committee is not telling us anything about it. Some people say they stole a few 100,000, and some are saying they stole billions. No one knows because they won't tell us. Again, great problem. Next slide, Denny. Thank you.
Sure.
The next one should be, business. There you go.
Breach.
We'll just skip the business breach. Again, the same document I talked about. Okay, the biggest breaches to date. Like Denny said, we're 50 days into the year. Anthem Insurance could cost billions. It could go on and affect people's lives for the next 50 years, okay? Because they're an insurance company. When you insure a child, you have to put their social security number in and all that. We have situations where kids that are going to college try to apply for a college loan and find out they have no credit because someone, when they were 6 or 7 years old, was able to use their information because the company didn't check well and actually get loans and then disappear with them. Okay?
Yeah, I've been reading articles, reports that actually out of the Anthem attack, the kids are the most vulnerable actually.
Absolutely.
The kids with essentially virgin, I mean, essentially virgin territory for the
Right.
for these guys.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. World Bank's very quiet about it. They've been kept real quiet. They won't talk about it. But some very good people estimate that it could be $1 billion plus. Okay. The Morgan Stanley breach. Okay. If I had a Morgan Stanley credit card and I found out about this, I would call them and try to make sure I wasn't in the breach, but I certainly would not keep their credit card. Okay. Unless they notify me pretty quick. Citibank. Now, TurboTax, great time of year, right? Do you know that the General Accounting Office estimates that the IRS has overpaid fraudulent claims into the tune of billions, not millions, billions of dollars? And the General Accounting Office doesn't know how far back it goes, so they've only done the past few years, okay? Because we've got people in prison that have learned how to use the system, and they'll turn in returns for prisoners and get them and then just run with the money because the prisoners are in prison. Who's going to get them? American and United Airlines.
Yeah, that's one thing I noticed. I've been doing electronics filing for the last couple of years. That's one thing that I noticed with the electronics filing is that the IRS will refund your money before they ask any question. No question, they just for some reason they decided that that's how they get onto the 21st century is that they will pay you right away.
Well, the GAO is starting to put pressure on them. American and United Airlines. Oh, that's great. I want to get on an airline knowing that their computers could have bugs in them. Now, the good news is that the computers on airplanes, and people have actually asked me that the computers on airplanes are totally separate from the information, the data, okay? So these kind of hacks and breaches do not affect safety of the airplanes. But people get scared about this, and I understand that. People have got to be more upfront about it and say, hey, that's fine. We got hacked, but it doesn't affect our airlines. It doesn't affect your credit. We're taking care of you. We're watching this. We need the community has to be brighter and be more open about it. Okay, everybody gets hurt, but if you're not open about it, you're going to hurt more people. Ameriprise, which is a credit company, they've been hit. Kaiser Permanente in Hawaii has been totally breached. So many schools and colleges, medical facilities, state, county, and federal agencies. It goes on and on. And this is just in the United States. If I showed you the list and the cost of breaches going on overseas, you'd be crazy. Okay? And then, of course, we have countries like North Korea. We have countries like Russia. We have countries like China. And a whole bunch of other ones who will not give out that information because they don't want to know that they don't want everybody else to know their country is weak and got breached. So this is a major life-changing economic threat that of unbelievable proportions. We've got to start taking action on. And like Denny said, we got to start demanding transparency, and we got to start demanding that someone decide that we're important and we need to protect it. And I know armed forces, having been one, we would give our life in a minute to save somebody, but unfortunately our armed forces can't do what we need done right now as a cyber war. And I think we ought to admit, from our president down, we should admit that we're in a war, a cyber war, and we need to start taking action.
I came to this country 1971. And then and then 5 years later, I was eligible for citizenship, so I became a citizen right away. So as it turns out, my first election was actually 1976, and if my memory serves me, that was Reagan and
Very good.
Carter. And I watched my very first presidential debate, and that was when Carter came out and says, "I asked Amy what she thought was our most pressing problem, and she said nuclear holocaust." Now, of course, we all laughed that off. But I do remember that
Yep.
being, something that was very important, and of course, Ronald Reagan was thought that too, and he had his way of solving the problem, and except that this is not even the cyber equivalent of nuclear holocaust because we had nothing to fight back. We have no intention of annihilating anybody, but we're being attacked. And stuff are being tried on us, essentially for a bigger attack.
We're guinea pigs. Yeah.
Yeah. So this is not a laughing matter. This is not. I don't find it funny at all.
Nope. And it's scary. Is what
Hmm. Hmm.
I really do believe it's a bigger threat to the growth of America and to the free world than we had with the nuclear situation, because the bad guys knew if they pushed too hard, we would fight back, and that would be mutual destruction. So the bad guys they don't want to lose. So now we have state-sponsored criminal behavior. I mean, they think Anthem was done because of the Chinese, and so of course everybody thought Sony was too. There's so many things that are coming back showing state-sponsored warfare, cyber warfare. That's what I call it, and that's how we should take it. We're at war, people. There's been no declaration, but we're at war. Denny, hit the next one if you don't mind.
Sure. Sure.
So what I want to do is kind of give, and this kind of a busy slide because I want to put a lot on it. So what do? You should check. You should always be checking your credits. Go to sites like www.privacyrights.org and look at the data breaches. See if they affect companies like you. The TRC report that you saw, and Denny has put it on the web for us, attached to this when it's on Love My Tool. That's the TRC. They report every 15 or so days. They usually try to do it every week. And if you see a company on there that you have credit with, or that you have a credit card with, or a place you do banking, call them and ask them, actually make them send you a letter telling you that you are or were not breached. And if they were breached, your information was breached, what are they going to do to help you mediate and remedy any potential losses? Okay? So watch your bank accounts. Watch your credit cards. Call credit card companies immediately. If you see even $1, the hackers are starting to do what we call the rat attack. If you have 1 million names, okay, or 80 million names, like in the case of Anthem, 80 million credit cards. If you went out and charged $1 to every one of those accounts, that's $80 million. Okay, the hackers have learned not to go after the big attacks because credit card companies see them. Okay, it's like when you go to the store and you charge something, if it's over or under $50, they say, "Oh, that's all right. You don't have to sign anything." And so the companies have set themselves up for these rat attacks. And actually had a situation where I got attacked about 5 months ago, and I noticed that there was a charge of $2.97, and I never would use a credit card for $3. So I called to find out who the company was. Non-existent. Called my credit card company and said, "I've been breached." Shut down my credit card, give me a new credit card immediately. And we went through all the credit charges and found 2 or 3 more that were under $2, but they were not mine. So that's what they're doing. They're trying now. Like when Target didn't know they'd be breached. Okay, they didn't have a very good, or they didn't have an adequate visibility system to see that. And when Target found out, the way they found out was that some cyber criminologists, people that were in law enforcement over in Europe, started seeing all of a bunch of Target credit cards and bank cards being sold on the black market, on the dark web. So that's how Target found out. Otherwise, that breach would have gone for God knows how long. Last year, out of 2,300, I think, and 50 different breaches from major companies, the average time to recognize that a breach occurred was 170 days, of course, according to the Ponemon Institute. Now think about that for a second. That's 170 days, okay, where they had time to steal anything they wanted. Now, if you think about that, a lot of people don't realize that attacks were going on. They were testing a way to get in that door, possibly for many months before that. And no one recognized that, nor did they immediately recognize an actual attack or loss of data. That's the kind of things that upset me, because it is the job of a company. If I give you my credit card, I give you my signature, I pay you with a check, you should not keep my information unless you've got one darn good system to protect it. Okay, and I think the PCI DSS PCI 3 is trying to mediate that kind of capture. Certainly you shouldn't, once I pay the bill, or once that bill is paid by the credit card company, my information should be washed. Okay, I don't want you to keep my information around for the heck of it. All right, but a lot of companies look at that information as a asset, so when if they decide to sell the company, they're going to make a lot of extra money, because they have 25 million or 80 million people's ID information, address, phone number, whatever. So we got to stop that kind of perspective. So next thing, I call credit companies, call Equifax, Experian, and TransUnion. They all are good companies. They will do their very best to tell you if there's been anything done on your credit. So next, you've called and looked at things. You called your credit card companies and alerted them. You place a fraud alert. Okay, there's an FTC fraud report you can issue. You want to call the IC3 and tell them that your information been stolen. You can get free credit reports to the people of above. They give out one free credit report a year. Watch your credit. Create an identity theft report. Now you can file the FTC, the Federal Trade Commission, but you also want to file with your local police department. Okay, and there's a great thing on consumerftc.org. It's kind of a handy report on what to do, and gives you very specific steps. If you know your information's been stolen and you know that you've lost money, someone's gone after your credit, your bank account, a lot of the companies will just make that up. But that's not the end of it. Your information is out there in the dark web. Call an attorney and see if litigation is advisable. Okay? If you work for a company and you've had a breach, first person you call is your chief legal officer, as you're alerting your team to start mitigating the attack right away. Okay? So simple things to do, but we forget when we're in a panic. Next slide,
so this PowerPoint presentation is also an attachment that we include in the Love My Tool post. So I would suggest that you download it, and if not the entire PowerPoint, at least that one page with all the live links. That ought to be part of your everyday carry,
right? Yeah.
Cyber survival kit.
It's when we look though at the arsenal of cyber attacks, it looks pretty good. I mean, there's 20 of them or so, and you're like, well, that's not that bad. We should be able to find them. The problem is there's a lot of different ways to do the same thing. DOS and DDoS, which is deniability of service. And I put DOD, D-O-D. It should have been DOS, D-O-S. I'm sorry, I made a mistake on that. But it's deniability of service or distributed deniability of service. What that distributed is we know for a fact there's hundreds, if not hundreds of thousands, of rogue servers on the internet. Okay, they're not officially there. They shouldn't be there. And most of them are botted. In other words, they're ready to do an attack. All you got to do is tell them what to do, and the hackers do that. They know how to do it. As a matter of fact, a lot of those are being used in hack for hire. There are people you can go to on the dark side of the web and pay them to attack a bank or pay them to attack a company. Okay, so not good. POS, point of sale intrusions. Oh my gosh, I cannot believe how easy it is to go to a coffee shop. Almost all of them, I don't care where they're at. If you know what you're doing, I can hack in and I can get every credit card they're scanning. I can look at people's personal emails, information, pictures. I was on an airplane one time and they had a point of sale type a system where we could go on there and do email and all that stuff, but it was a shared environment, so I could see everybody's computer out there and everything that was on it. Trust me, that's a lot of fun to do on an airplane. So don't do it anymore. But so point of sale intrusions. I never use my cell phone except to make calls, or my computer or my laptop or my notebook in public domain. Okay, I save those for when I go home and I've got a hard network. I just don't think that it's smart. Even Wi-Fi that we have in our homes can be breached very easily. So we got web application attacks. We've had Heartbleed, Shell Shock, Ghost. All of these affect different safety functions of servers in the internet and in companies. Other methods, DNS attacks, redirects, malware that's put on your computer. That's why we buy good, and everybody should buy a high quality antivirus protection for the computer. Phishing, this attack on worldwide banks was caused by a simple phishing. Okay, they sent in an email to Joe Schmo in the bank because they could go in and pick up a card and have everybody's name and their email address, and they said, here's our application for a loan. Well, what bank person is not going to open that? Well, when they did, it triggered malware that allowed the hackers to do things as if they were that user, and to take money out, send money to people, transfer money, do all kinds of stuff. And again, they kept it small enough at each bank, but overall it could go into the billions. There's a new term that we've been using for a few years called farming. And what farming is I send you an email and say, hey, Denny, would you better check your credit because we think you may have reached your credit limit. You click on that link that's inside that email, which you should never do. You click on that link and it redirects you secretly to a site that looks just like your credit card company. And what do? You put in your credit card, you put in all your information, and guess what? You just gave the hackers all of your information. Trust me, within a matter of hours, they'll be buying themselves nice jewelry and cool tennis shoes. Okay? We have a lot of insider misuse. Companies should have policies and procedures and should adhere to them and punish those that violate them. Lost or stolen devices. How many times you heard about someone deciding to copy something, take it to the airport, and they lose it? It's happened so many times. Employee error or criminal acts. Roughly 70% of attacks or an opening for an attack is caused by this: human error, employee error, or a criminal act. Someone that's mad at their company helped someone hack in there. Okay? Crimeware and malware. Of course, we talked about malware earlier, but this is a higher level. This is criminal malware. And then, of course, cyber espionage is really up. There's, on the dark web, you can go out and buy all kinds of cyber information about companies, people, and things like that. All right, Denny, hit it, please. That should scare everybody. Okay? Okay, some rules to stay safe. Only carry essential documents with you. Okay? If you don't need to have a document, birth certificate, your voter registration card, whatever, don't carry it with you. Okay? Don't have your bank check sent to your home. Ask them to be sent to the bank so you can personally pick them up. Okay? Print only essential information on checks, not social security number. I saw a check the other day and it had the person's name and his wife's name, real name, okay? Had their driver's license number, had their social security number, had 3 kids' name, had their home address, home phone number, and cell phone number.
Did they print the target on the back of the check as well?
They should have. I mean, my God, how stupid. Okay? And I saw the guy in the bank make a mistake on the check. That's how I saw it. He watered it up and threw it in the trash can. And I looked at it, and I picked it up and walked over to him and said, sir, do you realize that if I was a hacker or a criminal, you just gave me enough information. I could call you and see if you're home, and if you're not home, I could go break in.
Did he yell at you for being nosy?
Yeah, he got upset. And I said, well, I just wanted to let you know that if you do this often, the criminals will love you. And, you know, he shut up when the police officer in there came over and told him to be quiet, and I identified myself a little better and we were okay, but he didn't like it. Never give out personal information over the phone. Teach your children not to do that. Hello, hello, is your mommy there? Well, I don't. What's your mommy's first name? Carol. Well, where does mommy work? Well, she works over at the bank. Kids give away all the information because they're innocent. Teach them not to do that. And by the way, don't you do it. How many times you had a phone call and you pick it up and it says, is this Mr. Tom Jones? And yeah, Mr. Jones, you live at da da da. Oh, no, I don't live. This is my address. Oh, so now they have your address, your name, and your phone number. Trust me, they'll get more out of you before they hang up. Okay? So when this comes over the phone, and trust me, we talked last week about the IRS scandal or the scandal or scam, and we talked about local government scam, where people call you up and it actually looks on the caller ID like it's U.S. government IRS. Trust me, that's so easy to fraudulate that, to make that fraudulent. Mm-hmm. Don't be taken by simple things like that. Your trash. People throw away a ton of information. Now, law enforcement loves it because if I'm looking for a bad guy and I see the trash, I can go through it and try to find out what's going on. Okay? But you don't want criminals going through dumpster diving. Get a paper shredder. $70 can save you a lifetime of problems. Okay? Stay on top of your credit. I suggest a credit monitoring service. Some of the best ones are made, are with the credit companies themselves. Okay? Protect your social security number like it's gold. Okay? Just don't let it out. Keep a list of all your accounts, expiration dates, and telephone numbers for all the credit companies and any credit partners you have. Keep it filed away and keep it up to date. So if something happens, you can move very quickly. Here's another one. There was a study done about 6 months ago, and the study showed that somewhere between 35 and 42% of passwords was password. That is not a password. That's where you're supposed to put something in that confuses the bad guys. Can you believe that we have seen governmental people that in high places that their password is password? Do not do that. And don't use the same password on every account out there. And people say, oh, it's hard to remember my password. Well, don't make it hard. And if you do, buy yourself a little address book and put them in there. Okay? You should change them every 60 days at the most. I prefer 30 days on mine, but no more than 90 days. Okay? Take a word, like take the word same. Okay? Spell it backwards, E-M-A-S, and then put a character, a number, a special character, a capitalized letter, and now you've got a password because it doesn't mean a dang thing. How many people use Fluffy and their child's birth date, name, and things like that? Don't do that. At least make it hard for the hackers, okay? Don't give it to them. Hit the next one, Denny, please.
I thought that was the last one.
Oh, that is the last one. I'm sorry. Yeah. Okay. So we spent a lot of time talking about a lot of things. The goal here was to get you thinking. Okay. I think kind of a lot of it was to put a little fear in everybody, uncertainty and doubt. But like Denny said, it's really up to our government to help us. We need more laws. We need to quit letting people that commit cyber crimes get off as nonviolent crimes. They are violent. They take away people's lives. Same thing as murder in my simple mind. Do not let net neutrality go through. Call the FCC and stop that. That's stupid. That's handing over the keys to the kingdom to the bad guys, and more taxation for you. Think about what's going on. Protect yourself. Even though our government should be doing more, it's up to us ultimately to try to defend ourselves, our family, and our home. You wouldn't leave your house unlocked for the bad guys to come in, your windows open. You shouldn't do the same thing on your computer. All right? Spend some time. And by the way, don't leave your computer on 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Give it a rest once in a while. Them electrons get real tired running around inside your computer. Turn it off. Let the electrons have a rest. Okay? Don't leave it up for a target. Okay?
Well, That was really good, Tim. That's a lot of information. Of course, some of that is a little bit repeated, but that's the point is that we just have to keep hitting it with the 2x4.
Well,
And
same thing
people,
with visibility, Danny. We talk about companies all the time that can't even see their network.
yeah,
What's wrong with that? Well, I thought that was fine. Well, yeah. Now you're breached. You didn't know it for 2 months. No big deal.
yeah. And so what are you gonna do? Well, my comment has again, I'm kind of going back to what we said earlier in that. The reason that we're so passionate about our cybersecurity is that number one is that we are technologists. It's it's the stuff that it's what we do. It's what we do, right? And so of course we want to be up to date on this and help our community, help our customer, and so forth. At the same time, we are parents, so we want to protect our family
Yeah.
and protect our own identity so that they're not deprived of, we're not deprived of our liberty. There's no way I can turn that off. I
Don't worry
turn off
about
everything else. Sorry
it.
about that.
So yeah, I mean, it's like I found out the other day that children have cell phones now. Some of them as young as 5 years old, and that's kind of like giving your kid a gun and not teach them how to use it and letting them carry it around with them, because ultimately it can cause their demise. And trust me, if you think the hackers for money are good, the people that are pedophiles and that groom children, they use every application they can out there, and they're good applications, but you know they need to be managed by adults, not by kids that are 5 or 7 or 10 or 15 or whatever.
It
And
turns out that sometimes we say, well, we give it to the kids for safety reason. Well, I can understand that. But on the other hand, you might want to think about just giving them a phone, but don't turn it on. Don't turn on the SIM card.
well, they have
'Cause-
phones that are designed for children where they can only, it has GPS in it, so they can, if the kid has it with them, they know where the kid's at, so they can actually track them. Okay,
yeah. So
and then they just have phone capability.
yeah. So that's my point is that if you just go ahead and buy them a phone, it comes with a SIM card, and if you don't turn on the usage, they can still dial 911. The GPS still works, so you can do all that stuff
Right.
without them having 24/7 internet connection. And then when they get home, they can you can use the Wi-Fi, you can control it. But anyway, so so in addition to being a technologist and a parent, we are also citizen. So we're seeing signs. I mean that some of the countries are attacking us for their own reason. I mean, and it's real, and it's something that I just don't understand why our governments are not more vocal about it.
Well,
I think
it's a great warfare. I mean, people.
yeah, it is warfare, and so I think we should close the show. We can talk more about this next time. I just want to say that most of us think of China and North Korea as, I mean, especially North Korea as a third world country, still living in the backwater, and most of us even think that China is a third world country. I think that is not the case. These guys know more about internet than you can ever imagine. In fact, in the case of China, they are using the internet both for deception, false propaganda, and also as a way of controlling their own citizens.
Yeah.
So if you were to ask the question, so well, then why would they? I mean, it's unthinkable that they would do something like the Anthem attack. Why would they care about us, right? When they have 1.3 billion of their own to worry about.
Well, the reason they do that, Denny, is they want more money, and if they can put the United States out of business, economically bankrupt us, they win, and then they have more control.
I think I
It's
think
obvious.
I think that that is true. I think that is true, but I think that there's something a little bit more immediate. I think that if you were to go back, for example, to Pearl Harbor, why would the Japanese? I mean, if the day before Pearl Harbor, if you were going to talk to any one of us and say, well, Japan will attack us, and they would say you're crazy. Japan is such a tiny little country. Why would they do that? I mean, aren't they asking for their own death sentence if they were to do that? Why would they want to do that? And they didn't attack us because they want something that we have. They attacked us because we were a threat to them. We were a threat to their own very existence. Now,
Yep.
it turns out that we could be, maybe we ought to look at it from their standpoint. Of course, they want to come over and get more what we have, but at the same time, we are a threat to them because information, freedom of thought, and freedom of information, that's a threat. All right. Anyway, enough about that. I have a lot more that I can talk about, but probably and I'm going to sprinkle that in the future show. So why don't we close this now, Tim?
Got it.
And so we'll either do that. We'll either skip a week or skip 2 weeks. We'll have to decide. Okay.
Yeah, I'd probably skip a week, but I can do it whenever you want to do it again. I got plenty.
Okay.
Of
Okay. Well, if you have any comments, feel free to leave them on anywhere you want. You could leave it on the YouTube page. You could leave it on the Love My 2 page. You could leave it on the Google Plus page. You could send us a direct email. This is something that that we're very passionate about. We want to keep talking about it, and that a lot of the people that Tim worked with, because of the nature of the job, they can't be seen on television, on camera. But everything that Tim talks about, he works with these guys day in and day out. It's scary.
Yeah, it keeps me awake at night too a lot of times.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, well, with that, we're going to close the show. Thank you very much, and we'll see you tomorrow. Tomorrow, Tuesday, we're going to be doing the LMTV with Tony Fortunato, another episode of WTF, Where's Tony Fortunato, and he's going to start a brand new series on application baselining. It will be very exciting.
Application baselining and network baselining are two essential keys to be able to figure out if you're being attacked.
Yeah, and so also just perhaps just pre-announce. Maybe I don't think Chris Behari would mind. We actually have a new show coming up called LMTV Visibility,
right?
Where the technical focus is on what we call the visibility plane, what I used to call data access network. Whatever it's called, doesn't matter. It's really about gaining visibility into your network, how to connectivity, how to bring tools to your network. So we're very excited. We're working on preparing that show. Again, it's called LMTV Visibility, and it would be sponsored by Garland Technology. Right, Tim?
You got it.
Okay.
Garland, leading manufacturer of visibility equipment.
Yeah. So very excited. A lot of stuff going on. Well, we're off to a really good year. Really good 2015, Tim.
Yep, we are.
We've got a lot of people excited about LMTV. So with that, we bid you goodbye and have a wonderful Monday. It's just beautiful out there. Really, really gorgeous in the West Coast. Sorry about that, Tim.
Sorry, yeah.
Okay, bye-bye.
Y'all be good. Bye-bye.